Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the meeting of Barrow Borough Council's Executive Committee. This is the first virtual meeting that has been held by the council, so please enjoy it and bear with us. We haven't done it before, so who knows? Members lose a connection, don't forget to ring Paula. Make sure that your phones are on silent, and we're on YouTube, so whatever you do, everybody can see you. So remember that. And let's get on with it. Part one. Can I ask Democratic Services Manager to do a roll call, please? And any apologies?
Yes. Councillors Barlow. Biggins. Biggins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Biggins. Blizzard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Brooke.
Yeah.
Edwards.
Present.
Yeah.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
McClure.
Present.
McLeavy.
Yeah.
I believe he's attending as a substitute for this meeting, Councillor McLeavy. Maddox. I can see Councillor Maddox.
Yeah.
Morgan.
Here.
Pemberton.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Preston.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Right.
Okay,
So
thank you, Chairman.
can I remind you all to keep your phone, keep it on mute unless you're speaking. Okay. Did you say Are we right? Did you get Councillor Roberts in there at the end? I said
Yes,
Preston.
Councillor Roberts.
Right.
No, Councillor Roberts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So urgent items. We've got one item which is an urgent nature because we need to confirm acceptance of a grant. That's the thing that you all had this morning that we couldn't go live with it until it had been confirmed this morning. So that will be dealt with as an urgent item. Do any members wish to move anything that's delegated to non-delegated? Nope.
No.
Right. So the urgent item is now a part one item instead. It was a part two item before because it wasn't in the public domain. Now then, should the public and press be excluded from any items on the agenda, wherever they are? Don't think so. Okay. Have we got any declarations of interest? Councillor Biggins.
Yeah, I'm an employee of BAE for the urgent item.
Right. Anyone else? Okay. Confirmation of the agenda item 6, confirmation of the minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of March. Are we okay? Are they agreed? I'll sign them when I can physically get in there and sign them.
I've got some issues on those minutes, please.
Okay.
Do you want me to go through them now? Do you want them one by one or do you want them all together?
I don't know what they are.
Right, first one is page 5, 9.1, Future High Street Fund update. Could I ask the questions? Could we know the current state of play with the bid, what the draft proposals are properly, and the plan for engaging with businesses and bid members, not just community people? Are we getting a cost plan? And
sorry, hang on. This is just agreeing the minutes.
yeah, but these are issues which we don't. How can we agree them when we don't know these facts?
You're agreeing that the minutes that were at the meeting. Are you saying the minutes are not correct? You seem to be asking for an update, which isn't the same.
Well, that's what it says, Future High Street update.
Chair, the minutes of the meeting are there just to say if they are a true and correct record of the meeting that was held in March. There's nothing on the agenda for updates in relation to the minutes.
Okay, that's fair enough then. I'd like the public to know that we've had very little input into this, and I will be asking questions. As a Conservative group, we need to ask quite a number of questions on this. My other thing is the updating of IT systems, which is, I'm getting at nobody, it's an absolute shambles. People are aware that we cannot use emails, we cannot contact our constituents, we're without iPads, they're very in and out iPads. I haven't got any emails,
Right,
they've all been wiped.
Well, hang on, this is what we're doing here is agreeing that these were correct minutes of the
Fair
meeting
enough.
that happened
Okay.
3 months ago that go on the public record. And that's all that bit of the item is, not an update.
Okay, so we don't have any issues from the minutes now.
Right, thank you.
No, I'm not saying I don't, I'm just saying that has been wiped.
Well, it's just, are they correct? I mean, this is just agreeing the minutes of the meeting that took place, not what's happened in the 3 months since, just agreeing that they're a correct record of what took place in March.
Okay, I'll put them forward as items for the next meeting.
Right, so the urgent item that we're bringing forward is the National Lottery Heritage Fund Shipyard Town Project. Can Sabine present a report, please? Sabine, can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Afternoon, everybody. Thank you for allowing this to go on as an emergency item. So we have a short time window, which is why this has gone on as an emergency item. We received a grant from the National Lottery, and I would like to formally request that the Executive Committee accepts the grant. It's something that we've been working on for the past 4-ish years, and I gave an update to Executive in January about the whole project. So in summary, the project is that we've received a grant of about 800,000 from the National Lottery. We've also received funds from BAE Systems and the Sir John Fisher Foundation, and we're due to meet shortly with the Furness Maritime Trust to get the last element of match funding. So all of the funding except for the Furness Maritime Trust is in place. The project itself, Shipyard Town, is a 2-year project, and it will include a complete revamp of the Shipbuilders Gallery, building of a research room, the employment of 3 individuals, so a project manager, digitization officer, and education officer. We've received a donation of 3,000 images from BAE Systems. It's a really exciting donation, and these images will be conserved and digitized for the future, and they're going to be made available online. They're also going to feature in our new gallery. We're also going to update the entrance area of the museum, and we're going to create a special zone for younger children to interact, a squeeze in a subzone. And we're also going to have a lot of activities throughout the 2 years for adults and for children, so that they can engage better with science, technology, and history. So does anyone have any questions?
Councillor Pemberton.
Thank you, Chair. At the meeting in January, I suggested, because there seemed to be a lacking of information and objects since 1950 in the shipyard, which they were trying to get more to show. And I suggested that local model making club may have people, ex-employees, who might have models which they'll donate or lend to the marina, not the marina, sorry, to the
Go on the dock.
Dock Museum.
Anyway, to the people, to enable the people to see and to possibly at the same time write and note the life of the ships and the submarines that were built in the shipyard, how they were, whether they were cruise liners, aircraft carriers, destroyers, oil tankers, James Fisher ships. All these were built in the shipyard, and you could put a story behind each one of them. And I just note that according to the notes that the report that we've just received, I'm afraid no contact has been made with the model making club. And I just wondered, was there a reason for that?
So we're not in the position at the moment.
Oh, that was what I couldn't remember.
So the stage we're at the moment is that we have just received the grant. So it's a 2-year project, and at the end of the 2 years, that is when the gallery will be installed. So there's a lot of work in this 2-year period to start with the curation of the gallery. So this means we've done an initial design concept, but it's very much an initial concept. So there's still a lot of work to do to get to the point where you fill the gallery with objects. So of course there's going to be a place for ship models. We already have a superb collection of ship models. We will probably want to have some more, but I don't see that the entire gallery is just going to be stuffed to the gunwales with ship models, because life is not just ship models, it's more than that. So there's a place for them, but it's not 100% of the gallery is a ship model of every vessel. There are more than 1,000 vessels produced at the shipyard alone. So you couldn't possibly have a ship model for every vessel built at the yard, and that's not even counting fishers.
I accept what you're saying, but at the same time, you were complaining at the time that the history of the shipyard from 1950 onwards was difficult to portray because you hadn't got models and materials from that period. This was a suggestion I put forward. Anyway, I'm just reiterating the point, you know, that there are people out there, ex-employees, who make models and who might know what happened to these ships. Each ship has a life of its own, and I think people going round, all right, just looking at a model ship is not the be all and end all, but the life of the ship and what happened to it would be interesting. And I just put that forward as an idea anyway.
Nothing is ruled out. We're, as I said, we're at the start of this process of creating the gallery. We have a concept design and we need to work forward from that. So we're not excluding things before we've even started the process. So yes, of course, there is a place for ship models. There's a place for, we are going to talk to people, and we're going to hopefully get a gallery that everybody likes and wants to interact with.
Okay.
Councillor Blizzard did you want to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say massive well done to all the staff that have been involved in the bid. It's really exciting that you've got the money, and I know how much work goes into the HLF bids. So just wanted to say on record, thank you for all that hard work. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens over the next couple of years with it. And my only question was, did we get the full amount we put in for? Excellent. That's brilliant. Okay, well done.
Thank you.
Area.
Councillor Edwards, you got your...
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I'd just like to say to Sabine, well done to you and your staff. It sounds like a great project. Unfortunately, I received this report at 12:10 lunchtime today. I haven't had time to read it, and yet I'm being asked to approve it, 10 pages. This is just indicative of what's happening, and it's nothing to do with COVID. I'm very concerned about this. that we're not receiving the information in time to read it before the meeting.
Do you want me to give more of a summary of what's in the document?
Yeah, I think that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So, all right. So, all right, so we've got a grant of 816,700 from the National Lottery, which has to be accepted within a 28-day period. The lottery will give us an extension of, say, a week if we need it. So we received a permission to start letter, and then you've got 28 days to provide a series of documents that they want to get. And one of the things that they want to get is evidence from the local authority of how you're project managing it and the official acceptance of the grant. So this is part of one of the conditions that they have set. So one of, there's also another bit of match funding that I didn't mention before. So the council has agreed to the management and maintenance of the project for 5 years after the project finishes, so that's from 2022 onwards, of £25,000 over a 5-year period. And this is to ensure that the gallery doesn't deteriorate and that we can't keep it up to an excellent standard. We don't want lots of out of commission signs all over the gallery. We want it looking in its superb condition. Now, I gave a background on the project. So the background is that there have been 2 stages to the project. In phase 1 commenced in November 2018. That was the development stage. There were 3 key outcomes, and these were recording oral histories, installing Wi-Fi at the museum, and writing the bid for stage 2. And this is the stage 2 funding that we have received and that needs official acceptance. So stage 1, the development grant, was entirely successful. We have Wi-Fi at the museum. In fact, I'm speaking to you over our Wi-Fi just now. We also recorded, in fact, more than 10 oral histories. And those oral histories are forming the basis of what the gallery is going to look like in the future. So when we did initial work in 2015 to look at what people wanted in the gallery, one of the key things was that they wanted a lot more information on working lives in the gallery. So we wanted to record oral histories so that we have that information. And one of the ideas put forward by the design company was that we could highlight certain individuals throughout the shipyard's history, which will illuminate what working life has been like at the shipyard. But that is an idea at this point, which we might develop. Even more background was that all this started from a memorandum of understanding that was written between, that was agreed between BAE Systems and the council. So BAE Systems moved into the bottom floor at the museum to lease the bottom floor and also the museum's resource centre. It was decided then that that their moving into the museum wasn't just about just rent, that they were also going to make a financial contribution to an upgrade at the museum. So this was developed over a few years through consultation and through research, that we weren't just looking at a small improvement to the museum, because the Shipbuilders Gallery that is our particular focus with this bid, it was last updated in 2000. It is looking tired, and it really does need a major overhaul. And this is something that the council does not have the capital funds to do alone, that we do need to work with partners, and that we do need to work, we need to get external funding to do so. So working with partners is one of the priorities, as you will know, in the council plan. So we have done a tremendous amount of consultation. We consulted with people in 2015, as I said, and we also have done vast amounts of consultation in our development stage in 2019. We had a project manager employed, and one of the main things that he was doing was questionnaires, but also talking to vast numbers of people in the community as to what they wanted to do and whether our plans are things that they wanted to see or not. The consultation let's see, trying to get this right. We submitted our bid in November 2019. So the capital works includes building a research room, installation of solar panels and refurbishment of 2 galleries, the employment of 3 staff, and the digitisation of the photographic archive of 3,000 images donated by BAE Systems in October 2019. Let's see. So in terms of the consultation that we've carried out, we had the initial consultation in 2015. That was through visitor surveys and also staff consultation, and we received review information from the BAE Total Performance Leadership Group. The key themes that came out of that consultation was people wanted the shipbuilding story to be brought up to date. People wanted to know more about the graving dock. So this beautiful building that we're in, they want to know more about that. And that's what the entrance area is going to reflect. It's going to look at this fantastic building that was built in the 1870s by the Furness Railway. We're also going to explore what is the maritime environment outside in the dock. And we're also going to try and bridge the dock in terms of trying to bring the outside inside, because we don't actually reflect our geography at all in our building. We don't talk about the fact that BAE Systems is across the road, and we don't mention the dock now in the building. And we also want to film White Rose, the yacht that's currently inaccessible on the bottom floor, so that people can have a look at that beautiful vessel. People wanted to know more about Barrow's history through real life stories, and they wanted a much deeper understanding of the ship models, because currently the interpretation is limited to just a small piece of paper explaining a little bit about the ship models, and I think we can do a much better job there. And then finally, they wanted to know a lot more about Barrow and its expertise in building submarines. So in 2019, the consultation that we undertook were a lot of visitor surveys of visitors, but also of non-visitors. Why are people not coming? A major thing that came out of the non-visitor survey was that people didn't know what we were doing. We have a small marketing budget, and the HLF grant is going to address that. We're going to be employing a PR firm to do a lot more PR. And this doesn't just have to be for the Duck Museum. This can have a wider remit too, to promote Barrow, because I think, especially at the moment, we need a much more positive outlook on Barrow and all the wonderful things that people can enjoy in this area. We carried out, I spoke to all of the student volunteers we had. They were all young men actually, and they provided me with super feedback about how is it young people want to learn today. And as a result of these conversations, we are going to invest in video links with schools, and we're also going to upload videos on YouTube so that young people can get bite-sized chunks of history at the dock. We met with the Civic Society. We had discussions, a lot of discussions with BAE Systems, as you can imagine. We met with the Cumbria Coast Learning Network, who certainly inputted into our education plans. We also spoke to Bill Myers at the Mail, who's been writing about history for a long time, and we're hoping to tap into his archive of stories. We had a lot of interesting conversations with local schools and also Furness College. There's a lot we can do there. And what we didn't realise before the consultation was that it's actually, or at least it was before COVID, this is an open door just now. Schools really wanted to engage with us, especially secondary schools. And that's been a market that we have struggled with in the past. But our conversations really showed that they want to work with us, and they were talking a lot about cultural capital, and that they want to get children, their children, out and exploring Barrow better. So learning's not just in the classroom, but outside the classroom too, and we've got a part to play in that. And we also talked to local disability groups, and one of the plans that we had was to have a safe Wednesday, or sorry, a quiet Wednesday opening, so that we could have a period, an hour in the morning, where young people who don't want to have a lot of noise and distractions come into the museum and have a quieter experience that they might not have ordinarily. So we goodness, there was something like a 60-page consultation, evaluation of consultation document was written, and it did confirm most of what we had learned in 2015. So it was good to know that we were on track with our initial thinking, and the 2019 consultation just helped confirm the subject areas that we wanted to address. Also, one of the surveys identified that there was an interest in local heritage walks, and this is something that we are going to invest in. We're planning on having 2 heritage walks, one around Barrow Island and one around Walney, and they are focused around shipbuilding. One of the big themes that runs through the lottery bid was that we want to have more local engagement, but also more local pride in the area. We want people not to say that Barrow is a dump. We want people to explore the area, find out what's around it. Oh, what is this building? Why was it built? What are the links? Who's been there? And the walks can help do that. They can help improve welfare, and I think they could easily tap into the Barrow bid that my colleagues are working on. So the alternative options are to not accept the grant, but I really hope that's not the case, because this is really once in a couple of decades opportunity to invest in the museum and invest in the area. And I do think that that we do contribute to the council plan priorities, in terms of that we think that improving the Dock Museum is going to assist in making the borough a great place to work, live and visit, and creating a vibrant and safe and welcoming place where people want to live. So there are implications for the council in terms of there's going to be an increased role for finance in terms of not so much managing the grant, but there's a lot of admin involved there. But I think that they are resourced to deal with that. IT is going to have to get involved in terms of we're going to purchase something called a DAMS, that's a data asset management system, to manage our quite extensive archive, and that will make the archive, the photographic archive, more efficient and safer, so that things can't get accidentally deleted. We are going to use the council procedures in terms of procurement. Of course, the procurement policy is pretty well laid out, what we have to do. We're going to follow that. As I said, the grants are almost in place, except for the Furness Maritime Trust. So let's have a look. So in terms of the risks for the project, it's a 2-year project, but the National Lottery have said that we can have a 5-year extension if needed. So they're fully aware of the difficulties in managing projects at the moment, and they are flexible, and they also provide a lot of support. And a working group is going to be set up with BAE Systems, which will be meeting regularly to check on updates and to see, to check that things remain on time and on schedule. And I think that's it. That's a summary of the document.
Well, thanks. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you. That's given us a lot of information. Can I just ask, through the chairman, can I ask Sue, the matched funding of £25,000 to the council, is that in resources? Have we, is that okay?
Yes, it is. 10,000 is from recurring budget and 15's in the major project reserve. So we've got that funding set aside already. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Yeah, Lee's had his hand up. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for probably doing a bit of an extended presentation. When we saw the plans at your last presentation, it was really exciting. I'm really pleased personally as well, because as a Barrovian who's had family and relatives in the shipyard, had that personal touch of the experience of the working life before now and currently. I think that would be excellent for maintaining the local interest in the museum, not just for visitors. And the education and schools bit's important, because I know you do a lot of school visits. I had done before the crisis, of course. And the staff had done tours and been really informative. And I think I'll just add to that. And I'm pleased the schools are so excited about the prospect of using it as a hub for education, and also the watch you've been mentioning. That's like a almost local history watch, which used to be popular, but I think that'd be really valuable. I think it's really important we accept this. It's along with the future high streets, which has been mentioned. And I'm sorry, but I have to say that we've had workshops on this, we've had public consultation. It's been mentioned in major projects. So, and there's another update this week planned. So I think it was unfair before to say we haven't been consulted on it. But that, along with the town sale, creates a really good opportunity for Barrow to make the most of its assets. Actually, you mentioned it in your presentation, or your spiel, Sabine, pride in the town. I think we do. We used to see it as a bit of a hidden jewel or best kept secret, but I think we need to shout about it more, and this goes along with that. The only question I've got is, you mentioned one part of the match funding, was it Furness Maritime Trust? That hasn't been agreed yet. Have you had a lot of positivity about that prospect, and what's the risk if that doesn't get agreed?
The councillors who sit on the Furness Maritime Trust are generally incredibly supportive of the museum, so I don't see that being an issue. They've always been supportive in the past. The meeting is on Tuesday next week at 3:30, so I'm anticipating that will be successful.
Steph, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just wanted to remind members that this is a report to full council on the 16th of June when you come to the recommendations.
All right, good job. You told us, I hadn't noticed. Right, have we, Councillor McLeavy? Councillor McLeavy, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thanks, Sabine. Absolutely cracking report. A lot of good information there, and really, really good work over the last quite a while. From myself, I've done 40 years in the shipyard. I finished about 2 years ago. And just before I finished, we did a workshop at the Dock Museum on the history of, or you were trying to get information on the history of the shipyard over the last 50 years. I can only go for 40 years. I don't know what happened with that information, but I am prepared to come and sit and talk with you again of my past 40 years. And I started on the Invincible and finished on the Successor programme. So if you want to know anything, please don't hesitate but to give me a call.
Yes, I'd be very happy to talk to you. Thank you very much. I think that meeting might have been when I was on maternity leave, because 2 years does chime in with that. We had a meeting before then, which was really productive, and BAE Systems had set up a working group. And unfortunately, Tiff Battersby left BAE, and then the working group fell into abeyance a bit. And I think now that the bid has been successful, I think they want to bring that into being again, because that working group was supposed to inform the choices we made for oral histories, but that didn't happen. But yes, we do, it needs to get reformulated again, definitely. And I would definitely like to talk to you. Thank you.
That was the name I couldn't remember.
Right, are we all okay? Right, so the recommendations, as well finished. Nobody else? No?
Councillor Maddox, Chairman, wishes to speak.
Oh. Councillor Maddox? On mute, hang on. Try to unmute her, but it won't work.
Does it work now?
Oh, hello, I can hear you now, yeah.
With regard to the models that Sabine was on about, my uncle worked in the yard and he was a carpenter. And when they built a ship, the carpenter made a small model as well. One of the models that they made, I think the ship had actually gone, I think it was to Belgium. And my auntie and uncle got a phone call to say would they like to go over to Belgium they had got the model, and when they looked inside the model, it had my uncle's name on it. So they got hold of him and treated my aunt and uncle to an all-inclusive visit to Belgium because he had put his name inside this model. So I think anything to do with the models to me is absolutely brilliant, because I love to go into the Dock Museum and see my uncle's photograph on the wall making the models. So I think it's an absolutely wonderful idea, and especially with the models, the kids will be so great to see things like that. Well done, Sabine. Thank you.
Right. So it's recommended that we recommend to council that the grant of £816,700 from the Heritage Lottery Fund be accepted, having regard to the conditions of the grant and the grant offer letter at Appendix 1. Delegated authority be given to the Director of People and Place to accept the grant on behalf of the council. Director of People and Place, in consultation with the Director of Resources, is authorised to enter into an agreement with the Heritage Fund for them to provide the funding, which is the reason that this report actually came, so that we can formally agree all this. Agree the council commits £25,000 to the project for future management and maintenance costs. The Director of People and Place, in consultation with the Director of Resources, is authorised to procure and appoint the necessary resources required to implement and deliver the project. And in order to meet the requirements of Appendix 2 within 28 days of the date of permission to start, an application be made to the Land Registry for a restriction to be entered as detailed in paragraph 722, which is very exciting for any members of the public listening to all that lot, but I'm sure they can get all this on our website. So do we agree all that?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Great. Do we have to have a vote? I can't remember now.
Yes, Chairman. Can we have a vote? Could you indicate whether you are for, against, or whether you wish to abstain?
Right, hang on. Those four. Do we? Oh, heck.
If you're for, against, or abstain. So Councillor Barlow.
Right. Unmute yourself, Des.
For.
Biggins.
For.
Blizzard.
For.
Brooke.
For.
Edwards.
For.
Hamilton.
For.
McClure.
For.
McLeavy.
For.
Maddox.
Oh.
Morgan. Pemberton.
For.
Roberts.
For.
That's unanimous, Chairman.
Wow. Well, there you go. And I thought that'd be all over within a couple of minutes. How wrong was I?
So I'm going to leave you now. Thank you very much,
Right.
everybody.
Thank you very much. Excellent news all round. I think we're getting a bit of IT stuff, a bit of COVID stuff, and a bit mixed up with other things. I think we're all very pleased about actually getting that grant. And Sabine did do a report to this committee a few months ago about what the grant was about. So I think we're just having a few IT hiccups and things along the way. So next item, which should be over within about 30 seconds, give or take an hour or two. Housing Management Forum recommendations, agenda item 7. I don't know if anybody...
Do you want me to do it, Chair, or Janice?
Jan, do you want where? Let's have a look. Do you want to do a
She's
quick,
on the right-hand corner.
quick explanation of what this is?
Caroline,
Jan?
Operations Manager, is going to give the presentation as it's
Right.
her report. Chair.
Thank you. This is a report that went to Housing Management Forum in March this year, and it's a review of the policy statement for tackling antisocial behaviour within the council housing stock. It's obviously a key priority of the housing service, tackling antisocial behaviour, and also the review has taken into account the visions and values within the council plan, which was adopted this year. Housing Management Forum agreed the revised policy statement, and it's just really for approval by this committee.
Have we got any questions, comments?
Hmm.
I know a few of us are on the Housing Management Committee, so we've already discussed it once. We all agreed? Yeah.
Hand up.
Yeah. Right. Nobody against. We're okay. Right. Thank you.
Hey, up,
Right.
did you not see me hand up there?
Well, no, no. Go on.
Oh,
Go on then.
I was just thinking, if you've got people there sitting outside listening to it or whatever, maybe they want to know what the housing's actually come up with to benefit our residents and tenants and whatever. Because it's all straightforward, as you plowed on before, Chair. But there's some good bits in here where if we've got evidence, we'll act on it. We'll get back to them in the first place instead of keeping them well in the June anything about it. In this new version, we will contact them to let them know what's actually taking place on their behalf, so they'll be involved in it. So I got to say, Chair, just make people happy with what's going on, because councils care about tenants and residents. There's nothing worse than someone reporting anything and nobody coming back to them. So I'll leave it at that, and I do agree with everything.
Yeah. Okay, this will go out to people in the housing, the newsletter thing, won't it? Will it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it'll go out to everyone in our housing stock anyway.
Yeah.
Right, so we're all right with that. Next one. Marina Village remediation. David's going to come and tell us about a load of newts and lizards and stuff. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Chairman, and good to meet you all. I think a number of you I have met before, but for those who don't know me, I'm David Hoffian. I've been supporting the council with the development of the Marina Village project. I have previously been involved in the Waterfront Business Park redevelopment and remediation scheme, and also recently the creation of the new access into the Marina Village site, just for a little bit of context. So in terms of the Marina Village project in this paper, you'll be probably aware that the Marina Village scheme is currently covered within the Barrow Port Area Action Plan, and is also considered to be a high priority housing site within the Barrow Borough local plan. And the site presents a really good opportunity for Barrow to deliver a really significant regeneration scheme and help diversify the housing offer in the town. But there are a number of challenges to and hurdles to overcome before that's possible. So there are a number of significant issues around land contamination, ecology, which you referred to, Chair, in terms of common lizards and slow worms that are on the site. Also the risks around groundwater contamination and a number of redundant buildings and statutory infrastructure that is on the site that would need dealt with in order for that site to come forward for housing in the future. So what this paper is trying to set out is that in order for that to happen, the council needs to provide have some support and in order to help move that project forward. So what they've done, we've gone through a competitive procurement exercise to appoint Capita, who actually did the work on Waterfront Business Park remediation, to provide the council with the advice required to develop a planning application for the site and to develop the remediation strategy for the site. And this is even more important now in that what we are looking to do is pull together a number of business cases for the site in order to secure the funds necessary to undertake the remediation. So what the report has set out is around noting the appointment of Capita to provide that intelligent client advice for the Barrow Borough Council, but also to help move forward some of the key work packages which are identified in 3.5 of the report, and also authorise the Director of People and Place in consultation with the Director of Resources and the Chair of the Exec Committee to submit business cases and enter into any grant funding agreements required to support the development of the Marina Village project. But I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on that report.
Right. Anybody got any questions? Councillor Pemberton. Unmute yourself, Alan. Can't hear you, Alan.
Hello.
Hello.
Are we there?
Yes, go on.
Oh. Just like to say, we must support this project. Absolutely essential for the future of this town, I think. And all right, it's going to cost £130,000 to sort out the Japanese knotweed, but we've got to do it, and I support it in every way possible. Thank you.
Right.
Not us sorting out 130,000, but 65,000 is our share of it. Thank you, Chair.
All right, Councillor Edwards.
Yeah. Just a few questions. You're calling it Marina Village. Now, in August 2019, you called it Salthouse Sands. Have we scrapped Salthouse Sands? Or are we just on Marina Village now, to be honest? That's the first question. Second one is on 2.1. We're being asked to approve capita. We already have 3 county officers, no local officers, other than the Director of People and Places overlooking it. We've got 3 county officers who are doing the work on this. And, you know, nothing against you at all. I know you're efficient, etc. But we haven't got any very local officers. But there's no price shown on the report. It says up to 250,000. Could we have a tender breakdown for each element of the works, please? Now then, item 3.1 is my next question. What's the state of play with Homes England? What's the hold up? Has the MP been involved? Because he's on the spot to talk to people in Parliament. And what's the risk of no agreement if Homes England comes back with nothing? Item 4.1, there's no mention of engaging with the businesses there. Surely this has got to be agreed. This communication plan has to be agreed with councillors. We have to have some input somewhere. Thank you.
David.
Thank you. I'll touch them all in turn. If I do miss one, please remind me. In relation to Salthouse Sands, you're right. That is currently the name of the development. I think just so that most people refer to it as Marina Village. However, yes, that name has definitely not gone away. That would be the name of the development when it comes forward. So that's correct. In terms of breakdown of cost, it isn't quite that straightforward. The reason being is we wanted to ensure that ultimately that the work we take forward basically reduces the risk to the council by working on what we call an option E contract in the NEC contract terms, otherwise known as a time charge contract. So that provides a safety net for the council in that we can progress key work streams, but if at any time we feel that the funding isn't unlikely to be successful, and to avoid any abortive work, it is possible to turn off the tap, in effect. So that provides the most flexibility. And also we recognise that at the moment, that as we're developing the project, other issues may become apparent on site that we're not aware of. And this provides the most flexibility in order to move on to those work streams by having it as a time charge contract. But to give you the comfort that because it has been competitively procured, the rates that Capita provided are very competitive rates for consultancy staff. And I pick up your point around county officers. So I'm the lead officer working around the Marina Village project. Although I am getting some support from the other 2 officers, it is primarily myself. And what we are bringing in are technical support in order to bring forward the various ground investigations and ecology works, because you do require almost a multidisciplinary support network for these type of projects because of the diversity of work required in order to remediate the site. It's not really covered by one discipline alone. To go through some of your other points, in terms of risk of no agreement, that is always a risk with when you're applying for funding, that funding isn't successful. What we have done is we have prioritised the key work streams which would actually then add value to the site. So the works that we're doing, for example, around the groundwater monitoring works, in order to ever develop that site, groundwater monitoring is required in order to understand the nature and the flows of groundwater and the contamination within the groundwater. And also the works around ecology and translocating the reptiles off-site is an essential part for ever developing the site. And actually removing the reptiles off the site and ensuring they don't return, actually it helps add value to the site. So the work streams we've chosen are those that actually, if the funding isn't successful from Homes England or others, it's not considered to be abortive work. It actually would add value to the site, would make it more developable in the future if other funding were to arise. And in terms of status with Homes England, we are still in contact with Homes England. They have indicated that they may be able to allocate some funding towards the project, and we're actively engaging with them around that. But also we're looking for funding from Townsdeal and other partners as well in order to provide match towards the project. In terms of the breakdown of costs, as I said earlier, as I say, it's not that straightforward being an Option E contract, but basically, as we progress with the project, I'm sure we'll be able to provide updates as to where we are with the scheme and around the costs around that. And the communication plan, excellent point around engaging with businesses and also local residents. When we did the works around the Marina Village access a number of years ago, we did engage heavily with businesses and residents, and we intend to do so as we look to move forward with investigations on site. Obviously, there are a number of tenants currently on the site in property owned by Barrow Council, and those some sites in private ownership. And we are actively engaging with those as the project develops, and the communication plan is developing as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any more? Right. I don't have to read all his recommendations.
Martin's got
Councillor McLeavy, sorry. Well,
thank you. Thank you for that, David. I think we'll all be glad to see something on this site at a point in time. It's been going on that long now. It's unbelievable. On 1.1, the report seeks to approve approval to progress work streams. The work streams to include ecology and groundwork monitoring. Over the last number of years, how many times has this land been tested for contamination and water egress, ecological service? Where's all that information gone, and how many times has it been done? Or are we just going to be going over it again and paying for it all again?
That's an excellent question that you've just raised there. The groundwater monitoring's never been done before. The site has been, you could call it peppered to death over time with ground investigation. Now, we're not repeating any of those investigations. We will be probably doing a few extra boreholes in areas which we couldn't in the past get access to. The benefit with the work that's been done in the past and the work that's being done now in relation to ground investigation is none of it is ever considered abortive, because it's still relevant as it was back then, because there's been no other real uses on the site since then. So we are utilising that information in order to avoid having to repeat that further investigation. And in relation to ecology, there was some work done in the past recognising there was a reptile population on the site. It was very high level. This is more, what we have done so far is we know that there is a reptile population on the site, but this is more around the actual works to remove them off the site. Now that is a once in a lifetime activity to do that, because once they have been moved, that is a major constraint lifted. But they're very good points you've raised.
Thank you, David.
All right, Lee, Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. Just to sort of add to the answers that David supplied to the questions about the council officers that are working on it and about how local they are. David's been involved in Barrow for a long time. He's delivered projects in the area as a lead officer on it. He knows the area, he knows the businesses, he knows what needs to be done. As he alluded to, the other aspects, you don't need local knowledge, it's technical knowledge and experience of delivering these projects elsewhere. So I'm quite happy with the local element of the officers in place. For the MP has been engaged numerous times on this. He's aware that we're trying to get a decision out of Ministry of Housing, Local Communities and Local Government. So I think that is an ongoing conversation, and we do appreciate all the help we can get with this, because we think it's very, very important for the area, and it'll unlock a lot of the other housing issues and for the shipyard, for the retaining employees locally and stuff like that. So I think it's really important. And the engagement stuff, it's in the report about key partners and local residents, but as councillors, we're on the major projects board, and we do get regular updates on all the major projects delivered at least quarterly. So I think we're well sighted on it. That's it.
Right. So the recommendations are that we note you want to. Oh, what? Sorry, go on. Councillor Hamilton. You.
Thanks, Chair. David is actually Barrow born and bred. So you can't get any closer than that. The first time I met him, he was working for West Lakes and Aesons. And you remember where we had that money through? We had the money through for the Marina Village from Northwest Development Agency. The government came in, took the money away, vroom, Northwest Development. David, no West Lakes and Aesons, nothing to do. And thank you, David, for coming to County Council, because you're a first-class officer.
There you go. That should embarrass you enough there, David.
Thank you for that.
Right, now get all those mutes off the site. Right, so everybody okay? Right, recommendations that we note the contract to Capita, and we're authorising a Director of People in Place in consultation with the Director of Resources and the Chair of the Exec, myself, to award contracts and seek further grants to progress the project, and you will be kept up to date with it. I mean, this is not the first report we've had on this recently, and it's linked to the town's deal and is an ongoing project until we finally get it sorted down there. So do we have to do a roll call on this then?
Could we have a mover and seconder, please?
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, somebody proposed that we accept the recommendations, please.
Councillor Roberts. So yes. Seconder? Yeah, Councillor Pemberton. I'll do a roll call now. Could you say for, against, or abstain? Councillor Barlow.
For. I'm playing golf this afternoon.
It did sound a bit like golf.
Biggins.
For.
Blizzard.
For.
Brooke.
For.
Edwards.
For.
Hamilton.
For.
McClure. McLeavy,
Or
Maddox,
Or
Morgan,
or
Pemberton,
Or
Roberts.
Or
That's unanimous, Chairman.
Super. Next one. Thank you, David. You can stay and watch and join in if you want, or you can leave, I think.
We'll leave you to it and I hope you all have a good afternoon.
Cheers.
See you all.
Right, bye. Right, agenda item 9. COVID-19 council tax hardship update. That's Sue.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So as part of the COVID-19 response, government announced a hardship fund for relief to council taxpayers. The fund was distributed on the basis of the number of working age council tax recipients at 31st of December 19, and we received 798,000. Within the guidance, there's a strong expectation, not a requirement, to provide £150 relief to working age recipients, council tax support recipients, or less, if less would get them to a zero bill. Across Cumbria, there was a lot of discussion about the affordability of that with the funds given. Cumbria has 100% council tax relief scheme, so there aren't, if people are entitled to full support, they get 100%. In other areas they may get 90%. It's just each local authority's got their own scheme. Cumbria has a 100% scheme as a whole, so we worked through the figures, and £300, so double the relief, was affordable for our working age claim base, so that's been applied. We already have the power to do these reductions. There's power under the Local Government Act to reduce or remit the council tax liability of individuals. So the power, if you like, was already there, and government asked us to tap into that. We've had to update documentation around the scheme to include the COVID funding, because normally it's something that falls either into a funding pot or against the council's own resource. So this is a funding pot that we'll be distributing. After the award of the £300, that was £206,000 spent, which reduced 838 bills. With 592 left, that's now a hardship fund, hardship pot, and it's an application-based award. And it will only reduce the council tax to zero at maximum. It might not be that much, it depends on circumstances in each application. So we're publishing all of the updated scheme guidance to our website, all our welfare partners. Obviously we'll pass around members, I suppose you've got it in this pack here, but we'll put it up on the website and share the links. We're mindful this is probably going to be a fund that's for 2021 only, so it's time limited as well as being cash limited. So I will bring regular reports to members so you can sort of see where that balance is going. The expectation is it is primarily, and the majority is council tax relief, so there's not much else we can do with it. And we don't know what that demand will be just yet. I do need to say though that the increase in council tax support claims is not necessarily an indication that this fund is being spent. We fund council tax support ourselves as preceptors. It's topping up that if somebody's not entitled to 100% from us, or if it's somebody who isn't entitled to council tax support at all but needs some help, then they can apply to this hardship fund. But we are only relieving the council tax. We're not giving anybody actual cash. This is a reduction in council tax liability. So as irregular reporting is quite important, because we don't want to get to a point later in the year where we've not spent, and there could have been other things we can do with it or promote it stronger. So it's really kind of endorsing the 300 that's been awarded, so that's out the door, that's done, and to note that the scheme and the application are being launched today.
Thank you. Councillor McLeavy.
Yeah, thanks, Sue. Could I just ask, is this hardship fund aimed at those who are in work but are furloughed and not getting as much as they were being paid, or for those who have lost their jobs? Is it just for those two categories of persons, or is it more than that?
Yeah, it's wider. It's anyone that needs help with their council tax payments. So it could be somebody who's got reduced salary or has no job. It's income based. So yeah, if someone has low income or less income, then they can apply. So it's
right,
quite
thank
broad.
you. Thanks.
Any more? Right, so the recommendations endorsing the £300 award, note the council tax discretionary relief system, and note that the tax hardship scheme is cash limited. So we have to do another roll call, do we?
Again, can we have the mover and seconder, please?
I propose it.
And Councillor Roberts, second. Thank you. Again, could you indicate whether you're for, against or abstain? Councillor Barlow?
For.
Biggins?
For.
Blizzard?
For.
Brooke?
For.
Edwards?
No.
Councillor Edwards? For. Thank you.
For.
Hamilton?
For.
McClure? McLeavy?
For.
Maddock? Morgan? Pemberton?
For.
Roberts?
For.
Again, that's unanimous, Chairman.
Right, 2 to go. Right, agenda item 10, COVID financial management. Sue, again,
Yeah,
it's all
thank
yours.
you. Yeah, I'm not the COVID person, but yeah, not the COVID one. So yeah, this is around the emergency funding the government are providing to local authorities. So far, we've received 714,000, a little bit in March, mainly the bulk of it into this financial year. We're advised that more will follow, and each month, every authority is submitting estimates, spend and then estimates going forward to cover this whole financial year. Obviously, that does involve some, it's not an estimation technique, it's kind of a view on when income streams may come back to us, because we are dependent on fee and charge income, but there's also the impact on council tax and business rates that we're still working through. They're a bit more difficult to anticipate. So the financial impact for March itself is estimated at 116,000, and then the April to March, so the rest of the financial year is 1.679 million. I'm sure that estimate will change when I do the next submission, which is due middle of June. And to say we have got something in the submission to government around council taxes, business rates, but we're working as a Cumbria group. Obviously, the precepts affect the county council and the police and crime commissioner, so all the districts and the other two preceptors are working together on that. There's two particular recommendations for endorsement that I just wanted to point out or draw attention to. In order to ensure the leisure centre continues and can deliver the benefits that we've seen so far from the work that Life Leisure have done as the operator, it's important really to look at how that's going to be sustainable. Obviously, their income is now, the tap's turned off because there's no use of the centre. What members might not remember, so I just mentioned there's no management fee in place for that facility. There's a payment from the contractor to the council that kicks in from August this year in the original plan, but where we are now, obviously that needs to be reflected upon and reconsidered and looked at how we as a council make sure that facility is still available. So there's some work underway with a contractor. The contractor is the same consultant who did the work around the tender, SLC, I call them for short, Sport Leisure Consultancy, and it was easy to get them to step back in and have that work on that with us, because they know the council, they know the contract, they were very, very involved in that. Sport England are also supporting these kind of conversations between councils and operators, and we have been successful in getting some funding from Sport England. You know, I didn't know they were offering funding, but SLC made me aware, so we've applied and we've got that funding to support the cost of the work that SLC will do. See it as a lockdown, management fee, and then a recovery phase as well, because what the recovery phase will bring will have to be much more on a month-to-month basis to see, you know, what's happened. Can we understand how much are they doing, how much can they do? Obviously, there's going to be limitations, and it's not just going to open as they were. There's going to have to be a bit of a build-up to increase the facilities and the numbers that can actually enjoy the facility again. So that management fee, I'm asking if members are comfortable delegating that to officers in conjunction with chair, vice chair. The other one also is kind of leisure related, but it's not just leisure centre, it's also the catering and cleaning contract at the forum. So those staff were furloughed by their employers quite early on and approached the council to consider topping up the furlough to ensure those staff receive basic pay. In principle, that's been agreed. It'll be obviously part of the calculation of a management fee for the leisure centre and a separate billing arrangement with the contract at the forum. So I'm asking for those endorsements. And then the procurement items I've mentioned, I just wanted to flag that SLC were involved because obviously I will be reporting back, and that's where the big piece of work is being done. There's a lot of examination of expenses during this lockdown period, and that's what SLC are going to facilitate for me. And there was just some other procurements that have taken place. They're within policy and delegation to officers, but the requirement is that they are reported back in. So they have been done properly. It's just I needed to get those noted, and there was obviously a bit of urgency around them. And that's it.
Right, has anybody got any questions?
Councillor Edwards, Chair.
Councillor Edwards. Unmute yourself.
I've just got a few questions, which are quite easy, I think. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm really quite surprised at how much the government has given to local authorities. I think they've given them a fantastic amount to work with. Item 3.3, IT, spend of 75,000. I understand that's increased now. Could you tell me what it's increased to? How many laptops have we actually bought for home working? You know, how many staff are involved and councillors, etc.? Do we really need the amount that we've actually bought? Do you want me to do these individually, or do you want me to keep going?
Keep going, that's okay. I'm
right.
writing.
Yeah, okay. The next one is the contracted services spend in March and April is down as 20k and 29k, and it's projected to rise to 55k a month over the next 11 months. Can you tell me for the reason for that? It's almost doubled. What are the main costs? The other thing is the COVID business grants. Can you tell me when you've paid out these business grants and you've got an excess left, what happens to that? Does that go into our coffers or does it go back to the government? The other one is the life leisure that you mentioned. Could you give me the cost of the extra 20% furlough wages till the end of June? And what's our commitment beyond then? How many staff are involved? And is this just staff that you've mentioned, or are we actually paying a contribution to the headquarters staff in Stockport? Now, if you look on their website, they have the Stockport Leisure Centre as well. They have got a very detailed list of how they're going to reopen safely. It's really good. Why haven't we got the same, basically? Let's get it back up and running. We're furloughing the staff, fair enough. Who are we furloughing at the moment? You've mentioned the leisure, you've mentioned the forum, and you've mentioned the Dot Museum. What about other staff? Are we furloughing them? And if we're furloughing other staff, are they being paid the extra 20% as well? You know, are the bin men being paid the extra 20%? Are the staff, town hall staff being paid the extra 20% if they're furloughed? And the other thing is, you mentioned Sport England funding. Could you tell me how much that is at the moment? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Some of this I will have to send you outside the meeting, sorry, because I can't access me stuff. So yeah, we're around 150 laptops, but I will get those numbers, the firm numbers, if you like, and I'll send those on to you. Within the IT line, there are some connectivity, so we are increasing the internet speed, the connections to the town hall, because we never designed what we had to take the load of people dialing in from home to access their files at work. So there's not just laptops in that. I'll break that down for you in my reply. The contracted services it's a mixture of the contracts that have. So we had some increased cleaning costs. Obviously, that's part of a contracted service. We've had an extra fly tip pickup vehicle round put on. The life leisure estimate is within that line, so I can't break that down until, obviously that's going to be a negotiation. So I've had to make an assumption when I'm claiming or returning to government what I think is going to be the impact on the borough council. So I don't really want to break that down. To be honest, that's going to be part of a negotiation. Yeah, there's also increased use of social media, other like legal advice that we've had. That's only a very small amount, but it's a number of contracted services in there. The reason it jumps up is because only in March we only had a part clause, a part period where we had to either increase contracted services or we may be going to subsidise contracted services, as in the life leisure. But that sort of, it doubles up, because then once you get to April, and then this year we've got like a full April, but then in the rest of the year there is a taper off. I'm not assuming it's going to be closed whole year, but where it's showing April separate, it kind of is double, because you've got half of a March but then the whole of an April. Yeah, business grants money. Fairly recently there was a telephone conference with BEIS, not just with me, with all authorities, and the money that is not, we haven't got the eligibility for in the area, is returned to the central pot through a reconciliation. So obviously we need to make sure everyone that's eligible claims. Some don't want to, they don't have to, but you know, we're still running that scheme alongside the discretionary business grant scheme. So yeah, that isn't money that we get to keep. Same with the council tax money that I mentioned before. So we want to get it spent, don't want to return any if we don't need to. In terms of the cost of the furlough, that's part of the negotiation and part of the work that SLC are doing. I don't have that figure for you today, but I will keep a note so that when we do get to that point, I'll be able to share that. There are no direct staff of the council's employment on furlough. This is just contracted staff, contractors staff, where we've decided to close the facility. So we're still paying our own staff that work in the forum, because they are still able to work maybe in a different role. Well, actually, they are in a different role. But the contractor staff don't work directly for us, so we can't redeploy those in the same way. But we closed the facility and said, no, you can't come in. So that's where the choices come. So there won't be any furlough of the bin service, because we still need that service. It's not that we could, we're not saying you can't provide that service. Whereas if we close the leisure centre, we're saying to the operator, you can't get in, you can't run your service. So there is a distinction between the ones that have been furloughed and protected and the others that are still working. In regard to the reopening, there are discussions with Life Leisure and the council around what that will look like. I don't have the detail, but I can get that for you. They've been liaising with that primarily with our client officer, so I don't know if the plan is set in stone, but there is definitely a plan and approach to what can happen first. Things like spreading out the kit in the gym, using the sports hall as another part of the gym. But I don't have the details to hand, but I'll get those for you. I think I've missed one. Okay, I might have missed one, but my next one was Sport England. So yeah. I put the cost of the service in the report, which was 76176, and the grant we're getting is 4,980. There is a cap on their grants, so I couldn't get any more. But they're very keen, because we have a good relationship with our contractor, to make a business case, a study out of the work we do, especially with SLC. They can do much more in-depth work and documentation than I could if I was trying to run that with my own staff. So by them sort of providing part of that cost, we've agreed to let them document the process between us. Nothing that would be from a legal point of view we wouldn't want to share, but just to explain that if you've got the right ambition for your service, then you can get to a negotiation about a management fee in a situation like this.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, I will follow up on the clarifications.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, any more? Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to mention a couple of things. One is about the funding we've had from the government. Robert Jenrick initially said, whatever we need, we'll get. And then there was later on some I think some phrasing or wording he used made people nervous that he was backtracking on that promise. So we'll have to see, because the funding we've got up to now is not, you know, this is just tip of the iceberg what we're going to spend and what council are going to spend. The LGA, non-political LGA, have written to the government, I know, just to remind them of the financial pressure on local councils. So we'll see about the funding, is what I'm saying. Hopefully we will get everything we spent, because we just reacted to the need, and for like laptops, getting people to be able to work from home, it's been essential so we can carry on working. The other thing I want to mention is the grants, because I know they have been a challenge in the circumstances, but I just want to thank the staff and Sue in the business support and the audit team who were transferred in on the performance of actually rolling out the grants, and the discretionary ones are going to be in the next step of it. And I know it's all a challenge, but they're working really hard, so I just want to thank them personally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No. Right, do we have to do the roll call thing again for the recommendations?
Can we again have a mover and seconder, please?
I propose it. I propose it.
Right, thank you. So Councillor Barlow and Councillor Morgan. Again, could you indicate whether you're going to vote for, against, or abstain? Councillor Barlow.
For.
Biggins.
Trevor.
Biggins. Blizzard.
For.
Brooke.
For.
Edwards.
For.
Hamilton.
For.
McClure. McLeavy.
For.
Maddock.
For.
Morgan.
For.
Pemberton.
For.
Roberts.
For.
Again, that is unanimous, Chairman.
Right, are we on the last one? Ta-da! People in the lead. Sue, welcome back. It's all yours.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. So members might remember back, I had to look it up, 24th of July, Ali from CVS came in and did a presentation on this project, People in the Lead project, to explain it's a 3-year project, and she wanted to kind of give us that update on what had happened so far and how successful it had been. So just to remind members, it's aiming to build that community capacity and that development and that skill set around how to access funding, because it's really key that small organisations don't lose out. And I think CVS, along with the council, recognised there was a hole there, a need. So that work's been ongoing for 3 years, and CVS are now looking to roll that for another 3 years. The key outputs, I won't go back over them because you probably remember Ali's presentation, but 3.5 in the report does pick those key points up quite well. And you can see it's got quite a broad reach there. So for this year, I know I'm asking for 3 years, funny, but I'll just explain this year. So this year's project, it's estimated at just under 54,000, and CVS have assembled 49 of that, and so they've got a 5,000 gap, and that's what they're asking the council to contribute to continue to drive those benefits and drive those into the community and get more capacity built in there, especially now. I mean, we always needed it, but now it's a really good opportunity to continue that work. But we are asking for 3 because CVS would like the project to run for 3 years. It is only funded, fully funded in this year. So if members are happy to give that commitment to 3 years, it will allow CVS to then go and attract funding to match up to the balance that they need. But we would only release 1 year at a time. This is a grant from the council, so the conditions on it can be as clear as we need to be. It's for this project, it's for this post, it's repayable if it ends. It's not money that we're just going to give away. You know, we are very careful that we put conditions on anything like this. We don't give money as grants very often, so it's a very personal letter each time. I don't mean personalised. So the conditions that need to be in place can be very specific about this project. I would suggest perhaps that the trigger for each year's award, if members are comfortable to agree, that is a presentation of the year before the next year, you know, a presentation of progress, so that I've got something from members to confirm that year 2 is okay to be released, provided obviously that they come along with a business plan for that year to be funded from, or any other sources. To, you know, you need a complete funding package, or the project won't work. And I'm sort of looking for the 1 year to be paid imminently, and I would reserve the money for all 3 in one go. So that's the request.
Right, any questions? Anyone?
No.
Sorry, I forgot.
Councillor Blissard, Chairman.
Yeah, I just wanted to support the proposal in that I've benefited from myself in my own line of work, that the work that company CVS and especially Ali has done in this area, bringing funds into the area, is well worth the money. Through the funding fairs, getting people that aren't used to dealing with the documentation, etc., including people like myself, to actually get good things working in our communities. So I think it's something that is well worth supporting. So that's just all I wanted to say, really.
Thank you. I think they do demystify these processes quite well, and encourage people, once they've done it one time, to kind of think, oh, it wasn't as horrible as it looked, so they'll have another go. So it is building that up. It's not like a restart every time there's a new potential grant to apply for. So that's good. Thank you.
Does Sean have to declare an interest if he's been a beneficiary?
John? I don't know. I don't think it's directly benefiting from our money.
I don't work for CVS, so I don't think so in my mind.
I don't know.
If John can...
No.
No, I
No?
think I'm all right.
Right. Any more? Right. Are we all agreed?
Great.
Yes. So I think we've finally finished our first virtual meeting.
I missed a point.
Yeah. Oh, go on then.
Sorry, the technicalities always tend to bring on senior moments and delay the brain, but something that happened at the beginning about the minutes, because I had something actually. Do we not normally, when you have minutes, matters arising out of the minutes tends to come up, and you usually have discussions?
Not on the exec, no. On the exec, we just generally, they're agreed, the chair signs them, and we get on with the meeting. Because if there's anything that we need to discuss, it should be on the agenda, really. We don't do that at the exec, not to my recollection anyway, unless...
The Chairman, there isn't any matters arising from the minutes on the agenda. It's not good practice, and we don't have that on the agenda.
Okay.
All right, Alan, we'll inundate them for next time.
Outside the meeting, it doesn't matter. It's about, because I'm led to believe that the House of Lords, we're still now waiting for the owner.
Right. Well, hang on, that's not on the agenda, and we haven't got any reports on it, so we can perhaps have an informal discussion about it outside of the formal meeting, can we?
Absolutely. I think
we finished the agenda. We finished the agenda, so I think it's worked reasonably well, considering it's the first time we've ever done it. And I'm hoping all the vast numbers of the public that have watched this will watch it again next time and look out for the council meeting, which will be even more exciting. So is that it? Can we turn off? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.